Hello everyone, this is Insight on God's Words. This is a place to be. This is a place where we share inspired message as received from the Holy Spirit. And the main thing I want you to know is that all messages are purely inspired. Tonight is another session again. I'm always unaware, don't mind me. And tonight we'll be talking about the fear of God. The fear of God, the fear of God, the fear of God. I prepared, so I won't say little. I was just meditating on this topic a lot. But despite my meditation, I was not able to write down any notes, any written notes or conversation. All what the Holy Spirit was pinpointing was the Bible passage, Bible verse. So right now, talking on this topic, I'm going to be talking depending on the inspiration of God for this topic. He knows what he wants to say and he's going to say it when he's ready to say it. And if possible, I might not even be able to read all the Bible passages that have been inspired to write down on this topic, but I'll post them later as I used to do. And I want to believe on God to speak his mind tonight, because I don't have anything I want to read from here except the Bible passage. Online, join me, and if not, you can watch later. I don't mind. Tonight we are going to be talking about the fear of God. This is a topic that everyone is aware of. Even the unbeliever knows that there's some. Everybody believes that there's someone called God. And now when we now say the fear of God, what does it mean to fear? Fear, I actually checked it up in dictionary, and dictionary gave me different meanings, but the one I can pinpoint that relate to spirituality said having fear is having reference, giving reference to someone who is superior. And because you give reference to a person who is superior, the person is you are in awe of him. You recognize his superiority over you. Thank you for joining me. That is fear. I checked it up in dictionary. Yes, and that's what they gave me. Having reference to someone higher than you. Now when we now say the fear of God, what does it mean? It means we are recognizing someone, a superior being. We are recognizing him, that he has control and power over us. Now people fear God for different reasons, and according to the outline that I pasted here, I said I'm going to be explaining what the fear of God means, which I have not done, and why do you fear God. That will be our main focus and the biblical standard for fearing God. Why do you fear God? We have example of people in the Bible. Let me start from the Israelites. The Israelites only fear God when he showed his superiority in an anger on them. And after that phase is over, they will go back to their idols and forget him. They don't fear God because they know him. They don't fear God because they love him. They fear God because when he comes with an iron hand, he will throw them into bondage and allow a country to put them into slavery. They will go and serve, and they will cry and murmur, and after that, God will look down upon them again and say, okay, they are my people, let me save them. After he saved them, before a while, they will forget again, and they will still go back to their idol. So some people fear God because they know that he is powerful, and they don't want to tamper with him because they know that he can do and undo. They fear God, they reference him, and when they hear his voice and when they hear his judgment, they run helter-skelter. For mind you, it's good to fear God, but that is not the type of fear I'm talking about. The Israelites are very stubborn. Even till now, sometimes to wonder how they coped. Despite everything God did for them, every miracle he showed them, how powerful he is, he did not joke with them, not during the time of Jesus Christ. No, he dealt with them with signs and wonders. He did different things that, in fact, they are not even supposed to not reference him. But what will happen after he showed them his mighty power? They fear him at that moment, and after a few time, they are back to their vomit. Now, what is the standard, God's standard for fearing him? Let me give another example of people that feared him. Job. In the book of Job chapter, I'm just going to read just one verse. He said, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God, and he hated evil. The Bible recorded that Job feared God. But do you know the type of fear that Job had? Job feared God because he knew that God was the one that made him to be what he was, and God can collect everything back from him. The fear of God in the life of Job was too fearful of things unknown, future things, and every time he sacrifices to God, because he will say, perhaps my children have sinned against God and turned his anger against them, he will sacrifice. He will say, if he was sacrificing in advance of the sin that his children have not even committed. That was how fearful he is. He was afraid that he doesn't want to lose everything he had, and that was why God said he wanted to test him with what he feared about him. He feared God to the point that he was always fearful, and he was always conscious of his sin and his children's sin, and he always begged God in advance for God's forgiveness, even before the children commit the sin. That was how fearful he was about God. And God looked one day and said, okay, I know that you love me, you fear me, but I'm going to give the devil the chance to tempt you with that thing you are fearful of. And when that thing happened, Job said, wow, and this is what I was trying to prevent, and this is why I feared God, and this is why I sacrificed to him. He have lost everything. His fear came upon him. So what type of fear do you have for God? What type of fear do you have for God? Do you fear him because he's powerful and you know that he can take anything he wants from you? What type of fear? When I'm talking about fear, I'm not saying frightfulness. A true child of God does not have that type of fear. Truly, the way God operates in the Old Testament was different. It's different from the way he's operating now, because that time he was God on his throne, God himself on his throne, and when they sin, he give them judgment. That time the priest cannot go to the altar and do nonsense with uncleanness. They will wash and sanctify themselves, and yet they will still go into the temple with fearfulness, and they will tie rope on their leg just in case they sin in the priest's life and he could not make it, because it is immediate judgment. And you know that some people, they believe that they don't have access to God. They believe that they are not worthy to be called his child, and so they place themselves in the area that they are enslaved to God, and they are very fearful of what God can do to them. That is the type of fear they have. So they categorize themselves as a slave, and they know that when he says yes, yes, and they cannot question him. So they accept whatever comes their way. They accept that is what God wants to happen to them. Whatever he like, he can do to their life. What type of fear do you have for God? What type of fear? Now let me go straight to the Bible, to the biblical standard. So some people, they fear God because they know he's the giver of life and he can take their life anytime. That is their own notion. Some people, they fear God because they are fearful of him and his signs and works. He has dealt with them in an hard way, and yet they cannot say, they cannot say no, I don't know you. They know him in an hard way, and when they say God is coming, thou says the Lord, they tremble because he has dealt with them in an hard way. Now, how fearful are you? This is my own biblical standard of the fear of God. I want you to fear God, not because of what he can get, what he can take from you. I want you to fear God not because of his judgments and his powerful, and he is mighty. Yes, he is the Almighty. He has power over every principalities and powers that we wrestle not against. That is who he is, and he truly is. But I want you to fear God because you love him and you cannot afford to lose him. Do you hear what I just said? I want you to fear God because you love him and you cannot afford to lose him. Do you know the way you cherish what you love? Do you know how you safeguard it and you place it in high esteem? That is the way you should fear God. Fear God because you cannot afford to lose him. Fear God because you cannot afford for him not to be in your life. You cannot imagine life without him. That is the standard of fearing God. The Israelites fear God, but despite this, they didn't even obey. They didn't even care. They didn't know him. Yes, they fall from one sin to another because they only saw his mighty works. They did not know his ways. That is why when Moses, who was leading them, got to a point, he asked in his prayer that, show me your way, O Lord, and not your heart. He immediately asked for God to show him his way, and that's what the Bible said. He made his ways known unto Moses, and his heart, his miracles unto the children of Israel. That is why Moses took another level. That was why it was another dimension of relationship with God. That is why he was able to witness God, yes, on the mountain, because he has known the ways of God and not his heart. Some people fear God because of his heart. They know he's a miracle working God. He's the one that can give them the child they are looking for. He's the one that can give them the good job they need. He's the one that can make their life perfect, and that's why they fear him. And when they say, thou says the Lord of God, because of what they want to receive from me, because they know that they don't have any hope anywhere, they don't have choice. That's why they fear him. Not because they love him, not because they know him, not because they want to know him, not because they're his child, not because he recognizes them as his own, but just because of who he is. And trust me, he is who you think he is the mighty and powerful one. But I want you to fear God because you love him. The Bible proves to us that there is greater commandments apart from the commandment that Moses gave. And let me read it for you. According to my note, Matthew chapter 22. Pardon me, I don't always open all the Bible passage. I always post them after my live video, but there are just some that I cannot omit. Matthew chapter 22, starting from verse 36. And this is what he said. He said, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? That is in the law of Moses that God gave to him. And Jesus said unto them, Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. So I want you to fear God because you love him, just like we are read, with all your might, all your soul, body, soul, and mind. Because that is the greatest commandment, and that is the best way you can fear him. When you love him, you will not want to disobey him. You will not want to make the person you love angry. You want to please him at all times. You will fear him because you cannot afford to lose him. You cannot afford him to tell you, go, I don't know you again. Do you imagine that kind of fear? The fear of pleasing who you love. The fear of not letting go because you cannot afford to lose him. The fear of pleasing someone you love at your heart. You think about him day and night. You want to do his will day and night. You want to please him. You don't want him to be angry at you. That is the best way you can fear God. There are many people in the world that fear God. They fear the supreme being, but they don't know him. They don't recognize him. They don't have a relationship with him. They just accept anything that comes their way. It's faith. But I want to tell you that the best way you can fear God is to love him. And he said something again. He said, the second, like the one he said, is that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And let me tell you that once you love God, you will definitely love your neighbors. Because God himself is love, and you loving him, he will teach you the habit of love. And that is why it is the greatest and best commandment. Love God. Love him because you cannot afford to lose him. Fear him because you love him. And who you love, you can't do without him. If I ask you now that you fear God based on this standard, can you qualify that you are among one of those that fear him? You are among one of those that think about him. And when you want to do something, you think about him first. Will my father love this? Will my father want me to do this? Will he be happy with me when I do this? That is the true fear of God. Not fearing him because he's powerful and behind, after he have dealt with you, you go behind and do something else. Some people fear God, but that does not stop them from going back to their idol. Yes. So what type of fear do you have for God? Look at Job. He knew God, he feared him. But he feared him because he knew that God can take everything that he had from him. And that is why he doesn't have choice to worship him, to sacrifice to him. And that was what God used against him, to test him. Because there was a need to test him. Does this Job really love me? For who I am, or because of what I can get from him, collect from him? And that was why the God wanted to test his faith. And he took everything away. And Job sat down in ashes and said, everything I feared that would happen eventually happened to me. Yes. What type of fear do you have for God? What is your notion about the fear of God? I'm not even talking about you not fearing him. So many people, we know that they don't fear him. But you that you claim you fear God, you know him. What type of fear do you have for him? The best and biblical standard of fear is that you should love him, love God with all your body, soul and mind, and please him at all times. Let me read another place, 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1, which might be the last verse I might be reading. 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1. He said, having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Most people perform holiness, they obey the laws, not because they really know what it means to fear God. They just see it as a norm. Do not lie, do not steal, do not fornicate, the laws of Moses. They are very faithful to it, they obey it, but they don't know what it means to fear God. They don't know that fearing God means loving him for who he is, obeying it, submitting yourself to his will, pleasing him in all areas, and living a life, an holy life that pleases God. That's the best way to fear God. I don't want to do vain repetitions. Let me summarize it. That fear God for who he is. Don't be like those people in the time of Daniel, when Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego was thrown into the fire. They saw another man in the fire. They were now four, and the king trembled and feared and said, wow, who is this new addition in the fire? But what about the time of Daniel, when he was thrown into the lion's den? And different times that Daniel proved that he served the living God. And the king make a decree. Okay, the king of Nebuchadnezzar, that God really showed his mighty hand, because he believed that there was no God. And God allowed him to eat grasses. He turned to an animal. He ate grasses for 7 years. And when he came back to his senses, the day he accepted that truly there is God in heaven, he came back to his senses. And when he came back, he decreed everywhere that the God of Daniel, we must serve him with fear. I hope it's not that type of fear you have for God. Some people, if God has not captured them and handled them in a hard way, just like the Israelites, they will not obey him. And people like that will fear God and tremble in the presence of God in a difficult way, in a hard way. They will take it seriously because God has dealt with them. Don't let it get to that point. God is full of love and sincere, but he's very strict and he's a good judge. Yes, he gives the right judgment. If he sees a child, that this child, nothing wants to come out from you, despite everything I've done for you, he knows the best judgment, he knows the best way to do with a child. Don't wait for that type of fear when God deals with you like that before you now fear him. Those type of people, you see them, they obey the law by force because they don't want the wrath of God. They have seen him in an hard way, yes. But no, I want you to fear God because you love him. Fear him because you can't afford to lose him. I can't afford to lose what I have now. I can't afford to lose the Holy Spirit. I can't imagine my life without him. That is the way it should be for you. Fear God because you have met with him and he did something new in your life that you cannot afford to go back to your old self. Love God for who he truly is, because truly he is almighty, all powerful. You don't pray to see his wrath, don't pray to see his anger, because this one that they are still forcing you to serve him, such a person, we see them serving God with surrender, because they will truly accept that yes, there's someone called God. Don't wait to that point. God is full of mercy and compassion. He's full of grace. He's full of mercy. It is the way you walk with him, he will walk with you. And I want you to walk with him with love, the love that you cannot afford to lose him. And I want you to walk with him with love, the love that you cannot afford to lose him. Hold him dearly in your heart. It searches the heart, it sees the heart. You don't need to prove to men that you love him. Let him know. It begins it of you. Let him see that you love him and you can't afford to lose him. That is the best way to fear God. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much. I appreciate. This is Insight on God's Word. This is my personal page. I don't feel the need to create another one if I can get across to people. Check out. Thank you for joining me tonight. God bless you. Fear God for who he is. Don't let him prove to you that he can handle you. He can take it from you. That act that you think that you have power over, he can take it from you. Don't wait to that point that he proves to you that truly he is God before you fear him. But fear him because you love him. And there is no way you can love who you have not met. There is no way you can love who you have not have a relationship with. There is a day love starts. The day you meet with the Savior, the day you meet with him, you surrender your totality. That is when you love him, and you can't afford to lose him because you know that it's a gift. Salvation is a gift from God, and when you cherish this gift that you can't afford to lose him, you place him in high esteem. Think of him first before you wake up, and you think of him last when you go to bed. You think of pleasing him and doing his will. That is the best way to fear God. See you next time. Fear God for who he is, not because you are afraid of him. No, not that type of terror. God is full of love, and it's lovely to his children. Yes, he's so full of love and compassion. If you have not seen that side, that lovely side of God, you need to work more on your relationship with him, because he's not always fearful at all times. He's also a father, and a father that knows the need of his child, that can take care of you, is capable. That is the type of fear I want you to have. God bless you. See you next time.